Okay, well, last night I was knitting in bed in the dark because I couldn't sleep. And this morning, when I was counting how many rows I'd actually managed to complete last night, I realized I had dropped a stitch. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows back. So, every mistake is an opportunity. So, I'm going to go ahead and just do a little video tutorial on how to go back and pick up a stitch that you dropped several rows ago. And you can even see that I must have just not knit this stitch as I went by. So the things you're going to need to pick up dropped stitches are a crochet hook. Every knitter probably should have at least one crochet hook. This one's a little small, probably don't need one quite this small, but it's what I use because I do a lot of work on socks and with really small yarn. This is a worsted weight yarn, so if you had a bigger hook, that would be fine too. You're also going to need your second knitting needle because we're going to have to get to the place where this stitch is dropped. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to move to this point and then we're just going to bring that little stitch all the way back up. It is going to create a little tightness on the side of your garment, but knitting is unique in that it is like flour or Legos. If you shake it up, it will settle eventually and your stitches will all start to look more even with wear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip 2 stitches because that is where my dropped stitch is. So this stitch should be right between those 2. So here's what we're going to do. You insert the crochet hook through the front of the stitch. And this is what you do for a stockinette. Okay, so if you're doing some sort of specialized stitch, it will be a little bit different because you'll have to pull the stitches up in pattern. But because this is stockinette, which means just knit one row, purl the next, it's fairly easy to pick up. So you're going to put your crochet hook through the front of the stitch and pull up. And now I have corrected 1 row. Now you see it does create a little tightness. That's okay. It's going to settle out over time. So, oh, that's not good. We can't lose those stitches. We'll just pick those right back up. There's no need to panic with knitting. There's always going to be the opportunity to fix things later. So my hook is through. I'm going to do several in a row so that you can kind of see you can create a rhythm. So you go through the front of the stitch, and this time we're going to pick up the bar between those 2. It's a little tight, and then there we go. Now we've picked up 2. So I'm going to put it back through the front so that when I pick up the stitch, it's in the right position, and then you can kind of see the bars through between the rows. Whoops. And then we're going to, there we go, and pick up another. It's getting pretty tight, but I am a tight knitter, so that's okay. And then again, and then one last time to pick up this last bar. And then you just put it back on the left-hand needle. And then we're going to slip the other stitches back on so that we're ready to go through this row. Now, if you look, it does look maybe a shade tighter, but again, this tension is eventually just going to work itself through the stitches and they're going to settle and even out. And then you're going to have, no one will ever know that you worked, it looks like 5 or 6 rows with a dropped stitch and you worked it right back in. And that is the first step in correcting a knitting mistake.